You have a career coaching business. You're getting people on the call with you. You go through the whole call, and at the end, they say, I want to think about it. I'll let you know. And then they never get back to you. Or they send you an email saying, yeah, I thought about it. I don't really want it. Why are so many people getting on a call with you, but they don't want to pay for your service? Now, I've worked with over 3 dozen career coaches. I've talked to hundreds of career coaches. I know this is a very, very big problem. And if you're having this issue, let me know down in the comments. So in this video, I want to cover all the reasons, all the major reasons why people don't want to pay for your career coaching and what you can do about it once you know these issues, okay? And I've divided them up into 6 bite-sized problems. Number 1 is you position your offer like a nice to have, okay? So what would a nice to have look like? Let's say someone is in the job market, they don't have a job, they're really struggling, they can't pay their bills, and you're like, well, I'm gonna support you on your journey to finding a job. I'm gonna help you, give you some recommendations on your resume, some recommendations on your cover letter. It might work, it might not, but I'll be there for you on the journey. They don't want to pay for a nice to have. They don't want to pay for something that might work, especially if they're unemployed and they don't have money. So a lot of times the way you're talking about your service, the way your service is structured, it's too risky for people to take on, especially if it's something they don't deem as essential. You have to position your service in a way where it's an absolute necessity for people to have and where it's a no-brainer for people, where people are like, that sounds good, I want to hop on it right away, low risk to me, high reward, let's do it. But a lot of people who are like, I'll give you critiques on your resume, I'll do some mock interviews with it, but of course I can't guarantee you a job. And you can't, right? So it becomes a nice to have service. So if you have a $2,000, $3,000 package and you're offering a nice to have service that people don't know is going to affect their job search, it's really difficult for them to justify paying that much money, okay? The next thing with this is your niche and the buying power of your niche. This is also one place that I see a lot of career coaches struggle, where they appeal to everybody. I can help everyone find a job, right? So you're getting students, you are getting unemployed people, you're getting people who haven't worked in 5 years, you're getting managers, all of those people, and you haven't really targeted yourself in any specific way. So maybe you're getting people who just don't have the buying power. They don't make the money that you want to charge. They can't pay you. They might like you, they might have the problem you're trying to solve, but they simply don't have the buying power because you haven't really established a niche. Or you've established a niche, say you're working with fresh graduates, say you're working with students, and you're charging $2,000. Now, if you think about it, not a lot of students have $2,000. Maybe they do, but their priorities aren't to spend it on career coaching. Their priorities are to go out there and party and pay their rent and cover their tuition expenses, that kind of thing. So you're not going to be able to close too many sales here unless their parents are involved or their guardians are involved. But then it's a different problem because the sales process becomes longer. You're talking to them, they'll talk to their parents, and then it comes down, and it's a whole thing. It just takes too long. So think about this. One of the reasons people might not be paying for your career coaching is, can they afford it, right? This can also be individual. If you're getting on a call with someone, let's say they're in their late 40s, and you're like, well, they're in their late 40s, they have money. I can tell you, I know so many people in their 40s and their 50s and 60s who don't have money. Not everyone has good money habits. Not everyone has savings. A lot of people have debt. In fact, most of the population has debt. So you might want to consider talking about finances with your individual clients when you're on a call. Hey, what's paying the bills right now? Is this going to take take food off the table if you pay me? So you really want to have a deep conversation about people's finances once you're on the call. You don't want to skip that, because I know a lot of career coaches are like, I don't want to touch the money subject, I don't want to talk about that. And then they throw the package at the end and they say, I want to think about it, because they don't want to say, I'm broke, I can't afford this, I don't have this much money. So it's always good to talk about money, okay? So positioning yourself as a nice to have, that doesn't really make people jump on your offer. If you've chosen a niche that doesn't really have a lot of money, a lot of buying power, that's not going to make it easy for people. The other thing is, how do you differentiate yourself, okay? Again, go to LinkedIn. You'll find 50,000 career coaches offering LinkedIn, offering resume, cover letter, interview. What makes you any different, right? If your service is identical to someone else, the only thing that you will compete on is the price and your personality. That's it. And a lot of people are like, I'll look into the market, I'll see what X person is doing. Because I'm new, I'm going to charge around the same, but a little bit less and offer a little bit more value. So it becomes the race to the bottom, right? Who can offer the cheapest service? And you don't want people to come to you just because you're cheap. So one way people don't want to pay you is because there's so many alternatives out there that do the exact same thing. And the way you differentiate yourself is you niche down very particularly. So let's say there's someone who helps people find a job. Everyone helps people find a job. But what if you help people in their 40s and 50s transition from tech to pharmaceutical? That becomes highly specific, right? Not everyone else out there is doing that. So when I come to you and you're just a career coach, you can help me with my job. Yes, I might pay you $1,000, but it doesn't speak to me like you can solve my specific problem. But if it says you're someone who helps people in their 40s and 50s transitions from tech to pharmaceutical, now it's so specific. I know you solve my specific problem that I'm willing to pay you more money for that service. So how can you differentiate yourself? And think about how you can really dial that in. Not just I help women find a job, I help men find a job, I help people find a job in tech, but how can you be super specific so you can differentiate yourself? Because if you can differentiate yourself, if you don't have a big authority, if you don't have a personality that people resonate with, if you don't have a personal connection with these people, what's stopping them from just going out somewhere else and finding someone cheaper and doing it? So find a way to differentiate yourself, okay? So we had another one here. What was this one? I think this was positioning. Positioning is essentially how does your offer come across in front of people? Okay, so positioning could be I help people land a job, or I guarantee people a job in 90 days, or I work with managers at this field and I help them. So how are they positioning your service? Do they know you're expensive, or do they find out you're expensive once they're on the call with you? So let's say you're like, I can help everybody find a job, right? All of them. That's how you've positioned yourself. And people on the call with you, and you're like, well, I work with senior managers and I charge $6,000 for my service. Well, now your positioning was so off that people didn't know if you were that expensive, so they reached out to you and you're targeting the wrong audience. So you don't want to be doing that. Position yourself right from the get-go for the specific niche you want to help, and position yourself for the people that can pay you the amount of money you want to get paid. Now remember, I know a lot of career coaches want to do this because they're very kind people, they love helping people. That's amazing. That's not what this channel is about. This channel is about how can you do the thing you love while making money. Because if you're not making money, guess what? Your service is going to lack. Your clients are not going to get the same results because you don't have the resources to help them. So we're going to focus on how to build a coaching business from this perspective. So positioning. Have you positioned yourself in a way where you come across where people know what to expect, where you're attracting the kind of clients you want who know how much you charge, okay? Now, when you're talking to somebody, two things to consider are effort and time. So if someone is paying you, ideally, they want to spend the least amount of time and the least amount of effort. Okay, Alex Hormozi talks about this a lot. If you can reduce the effort and time that people have to put in to get the result, they're going to be significantly more likely. So let's say you've got a career coaching package that is $5,000, and you're like, yeah, you and I will work together. We'll create an entire list of companies that we want to reach out to. We'll find all the emails. We'll send them emails every single day, 10, 15 emails. It's going to take 5 hours of your day every day. You're going to be doing informational interviews, and then hopefully we'll land some calls. If we land some calls, you might get some opportunities. We don't really know for sure. Sounds like a lot of effort, sounds like a lot of time, and sounds like the last point we'll talk about is a low likelihood of result, right? So if I put in all this time, all this effort, and I pay you money on top of that, and I still don't know if it's going to work, why will I pay you any money, right? So you as a career coach have to think about, how can I make this an efficient process for them? How can I reduce the amount of time it takes them to get results? How can I reduce the amount of effort they have to put in to get results? And how can I maximize the likelihood of result? This also depends on the metrics you set with them. So if you say, working with me, in 2 weeks you'll get a job, and you guarantee that, I don't know how you can, but if you guarantee it, everyone's going to jump on your offer. Because the likelihood of result is so high, you've guaranteed it, the time to return is very low, and the effort, well, it might be more effort, but because you've reduced the amount of time, a lot of people will jump on it. So you can set some realistic metrics, like in a month, how much do we want to accomplish? In 2 months, what do we want to accomplish? Set specific metrics so you can track it. The other thing to keep in mind with these two things, you want to have some quick wins, okay? Job search, we know, takes a long time for some people. How can you make them feel like they're winning, especially if they're working with you? Okay, maybe they get their first interview in the first week. Maybe they get a request from some place they applied to within a week or 2 weeks. Maybe they feel really good about their resume. Maybe their interview skills are improving. How can you give them quick wins? Because if someone starts working with you and you say, okay, in 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, we might have some sort of job offer coming in. Well, that's not very exciting for me. Again, it sounds like a lot of effort, sounds like a lot of time, and the likelihood of result is not very high, okay? Let's talk about this last piece here. I think perhaps this is probably the most important. If people don't have money and at the same time they're not receiving a high enough likelihood of result, they're not going to invest money with you. Okay, so let's say someone's making $50,000 a year, they've got $2,000 saved up, and your coaching service is $2,000, and you're like, I'm going to support you, I'm going to help you out, and hopefully this works. Not really enough to get them over the board, right? They're not going to jump on your offer because it sounds like risk. So how can you mitigate the risk? How can you give them the lowest amount of risk possible for them to jump on and start working with you? Think about it. If someone has just $2,000 left, they can't pay their rent, and they really need a job, and they pay you just so maybe it might work, it might not. So think about, how can I make it more likely? Are you going to connect them with hiring managers? Are you going to troubleshoot their process every step of the way? Are you going to see every email that they're sending out? Are you going to look at every resume they're sending out? How can you guarantee, or how can you give them a higher sense that they're going to get a certain result, right? Maybe you can't guarantee them a job, but you can guarantee them interviews with hiring managers. Maybe you can guarantee them informational interviews. Maybe you can guarantee that after you teach them networking, they will get more clarity in their career. What can you guarantee so when people are paying you, they know they're getting something tangible? People don't want to pay for something they might get. We want to know certainly that if I pay you this much money, I'm going to get this thing in return, okay? So let's think about all these things all together. Don't position your service like a nice to have where, yeah, I'll help you, it might work, but if you did this yourself, you might get the same result. You don't want people thinking that all the free material on the internet would have had the same effect on their job search. Second thing, niche and buying power. Are you picking people who are just not able to afford your service, just don't have the buying power, or are you skipping the finance talk? Are you getting on a call with people and completely omitting talking about what they're doing now, what their financial situation is like, how much they can afford, what their budget is? If you're afraid of having money conversations, I'm telling you it's going to bite you in the ass later on. Get comfortable talking about money as soon as possible. Have you differentiated yourself? Are you like every other career coach who's doing resume, LinkedIn, cover letter, mock interviews? What are you doing to differentiate yourself? Are you positioned in a way that appeals to your target audience? Again, think about appealing to someone in a specific time in their life, maybe a specific age group, a specific gender, that you can help out with a specific problem, a specific transition, okay? How specific are you? The more specific you are, the higher you can charge. Remember, specialists always charge more than generalists, okay? Effort versus time. Can you reduce the amount of effort people have to put in? Can you reduce the amount of time that it takes for them to get results? And can you get them quick wins as they work with you? Because it's gonna be very difficult for people to jump on your offer if they feel, oh, in 90 days I'm gonna get results. Well, what can you do for me in a week, in 2 weeks? Because then I'm gonna be a lot more motivated to work with you. And lastly, how can you increase the likelihood of result? You can do this with testimonials, show previous clients who've done that. You can give them some sort of a money back guarantee. You can give them a low commitment upfront and pay when XYZ result happens. What can you do to mitigate their result? A lot of this also comes down to your persuasiveness and just your track record. How good are you at what you're doing? Because if you're not good at what you do and you can't promise a very high likelihood of results, you probably shouldn't be charging that much money either. So these are some of the reasons why people don't pay for your career coaching. Just try to increase all 6 of these points and you have a lot more people wanting to jump on your offer and paying you for your service. Again, hopefully this helped you out. If it did, please let me know. If you do want to get on a call with me to talk about your business, link is in the description. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.